curious thing, the path a person takes to power. For Richard Nixon, that path was neither straight nor simple. Born in Yorba Linda, raised with modest means, he carved forward with hard work and quiet ambition. Law school excellence, wartime Navy duty, and a lawyer's precision fueled a swift ascent, House, Senate, and the Vice Presidency under Eisenhower. Stinging defeats followed, the narrow loss to John F. Kennedy and a setback in California, setbacks that seemed to haunt him. But Nixon was resilient. He waited, he watched, he planned. By 1968, America was fraying, war abroad, unrest at home, and wounds left by political assassinations. Nixon re-emerged promising order and a path to peace, appealing to what he called the silent majority. He won in 1968 and faced a divided nation, a leader forged by struggle, now charged with healing deep wounds. The Vietnam War was the nation's great bleeding wound when Nixon took office. It had consumed the previous presidency and torn the country apart. Young men were sent far away for a conflict many no longer supported. Nixon knew ending the war was urgent and promised a path, peace with honor. Vietnamization meant withdrawing U.S. combat troops while training and supplying South Vietnam to fight on. Equipment and financial support would rise as Americans came home. Bringing soldiers back aimed to quiet protests and reassure allies. Withdrawals began in 1969 and numbers fell steadily. But contradictions ran deep. To pressure Hanoi, Nixon expanded the war with secret bombing in Cambodia. When it became public, outrage erupted. Talks dragged on, punctuated by intense bombing. A fragile agreement emerged in January 1973. Peace and its honor would prove tragically temporary. Perhaps his most stunning act did not come from a battlefield, but from a diplomatic handshake. For decades, America and China had stood apart, hostile and isolated. Nixon, once a staunch anti-communist, saw a shifting chessboard. With Henry Kissinger, secret messages opened the door. Then, the announcement, the president would visit China. The handshake shocked the world, breaking the ice of a generation. The Shanghai Communique set a framework, disagreements acknowledged, avenues for trade and culture begun. It repositioned America and showcased Nixon as a visionary statesman. While China grabbed headlines, détente with the Soviet Union quietly aimed to relax tensions. The superpowers had amassed terrifying arsenals. Nixon and Brezhnev sought a more predictable relationship. SALT I and the ABM Treaty put brakes on the arms race. A grim logic. Mutual vulnerability deterred a first strike. Agreements widened to trade, scientific exchange, and space cooperation. It offered hope to a world weary of conflict. Alongside China, détente cemented Nixon's foreign policy reputation. It would be one of his presidency's highest points, a deliberate, disciplined pursuit of stability. While Nixon's gaze reached abroad, he governed a fractured home front. He appealed to the silent majority, ordinary Americans unsettled by protest and change, people who worked hard, paid taxes, and craved stability. He promised law and order and a steadier course. Paradoxically, his tenure saw major environmental action: NEPA, the EPA, clean air, and clean water. Responding to smog and polluted rivers, Washington moved. Economically, stagflation bit hard. Nixon imposed a wage price freeze. Then came the Nixon shock, ending dollar-gold convertibility, reshaping global finance. He expanded food assistance and tied Social Security to the cost of living. Rhetoric conservative, methods often pragmatic and bold, all aimed at restoring a sense of stability to a troubled nation. In 1972, at the zenith of his power, a shadow appeared. Diplomatic triumphs stacked high, and re-election seemed assured. Then, a seemingly minor burglary at the DNC inside Watergate. Listening devices and photographed documents, strange yet small. The White House denied any connection. Nixon won in a historic landslide, but Woodward and Bernstein kept pulling the thread, aided by a secret source, Deep Throat. Money trails and memos pointed toward the president's re-election committee. Creep, a criminal case morphed into a political firestorm. A Senate committee formed. The central question sharpened. What did the president know? And when did he know it? In 1973, Watergate gripped the nation. Then came a bombshell, the White House taping system. It had recorded conversations in the Oval Office and on telephones. Subpoenas flew from the Senate and from Special Prosecutor Archibald Cox. Nixon refused, citing executive privilege. A constitutional showdown, President, Congress, and the courts. Cox pressed on. Nixon ordered his firing. The Attorney General resigned. The Deputy AG was fired. Solicitor General Bork complied. Public outcry exploded. The spectacle reeked of panic and guilt. Under pressure, Nixon released some tapes. One had an 18-12-minute gap. Transcripts showed a profane, vengeful tone, deepening suspicion and calls for impeachment. By spring 1974, Nixon's survival hung by a thread. Impeachment proceedings began, evidence mounted in public view. The Supreme Court ruled, turn over the tapes, the smoking gun, Nixon ordering the CIA to block the FBI, obstruction of justice. His last offenders fell away. Nixon announced he would resign, effective at noon the next day. He bid farewell, boarded the helicopter and departed. Gerald Ford was sworn in, declaring, "Our long national nightmare is over," a singular moment in American history. To look back at Nixon is to confront staggering contradictions. A brilliant strategist and a leader who betrayed public trust. Transformative policies at home. A scandal that scarred the nation and language itself. He cannot be dismissed as merely criminal, nor hailed as great. The truths are too opposed. A Shakespearean figure. Great capacity undone by character flaws, reminding us that power can achieve much, corrupt much, and must answer always